Some people look at a toilet and see a simple piece of plumbing. Others, it seems, see a portal to another dimension, a magical vortex where all their problems, from bad romantic partners to failed get-rich-quick schemes, can simply disappear. This video is dedicated to those people and the very confused, very underpaid plumbers who have to clean up after them. Here are 49 times that portal fought back. 1. Sewer workers in Texas, investigating a blockage, found something that wasn't just trash, but a monument to pure rage: a broken-off shopping cart handle. This wasn't an accident. Someone had to have snapped this thing off with significant force before deciding the toilet was its final resting place. You can almost picture the unhinged shopper, defeated by a wobbly wheel one too many times, waging a one-person war against retail. Their personal victory against the cart, however, resulted in a very public and very expensive defeat for the city's plumbing. 2. During a routine cleaning, city workers in Philadelphia unearthed a relic from another time: a short, heavily rusted sword. It wasn't a grand medieval blade, but a grimy, menacing dagger pulled from the muck. Was it a discarded prop from a local theater production? The evidence from a forgotten mob hit from the 1920s? Or perhaps Benjamin Franklin's lost letter opener? Whatever its dramatic origin story, its final resting place in a sewer pipe was decidedly unepic, a truly pathetic end for any weapon, real or fake. 3. Some plumbing jobs are just gross. Others scar you for life. A plumber in Pennsylvania was called to fix a clog and came face to face with pure, unadulterated nightmare fuel. He pulled out a single, decapitated doll's head. The worst part? Its cold, plastic eyes were still wide open, staring into the abyss as if it had seen the horrors of the underworld. Imagine being the poor soul who had to reach into the darkness and feel those tiny, cursed features. That plumber deserves hazard pay and a lifetime supply of therapy. 4. A sewage system in Florida was found to be suffering from a case of dental hygiene Armageddon. The cause of the massive clog was a collection of over 50 toothbrushes, all tangled together in a grotesque nest of plastic and bristles. This wasn't one person's weird habit. This was a systemic failure. Either a local hotel has a very passive-aggressive way of firing its cleaning staff, or a single individual decided to hoard and then baptize their entire lifetime supply of oral care products at once. 5. Have you ever wondered what happens when you flush a 5-pound bag of flour down the toilet? Someone in Chicago decided to run that very experiment in the city's public sewer system. The result was exactly what you'd expect from a third-grade science fair. They created a solid, immovable brick of industrial-grade paste. This wasn't just a clog. It was an accidental act of domestic terrorism against the city's infrastructure, turning a functioning pipe into a hardened artery that took days of work to clear. 6. Some clogs are mundane. This one was a comedic tragedy. Sanitation workers in Kentucky were forced to extract a full-sized rubber chicken from a main sewer line. The classic prop was wedged perfectly, its silent rubber scream echoing in the darkness. Was it a struggling comedian's final, desperate act after a bad set? Or did the chicken itself, in a moment of existential crisis, decide to perform one last silent gag? The punchline, it turns out, was a massive bill for the city and a very unfunny day for the sanitation crew. 7. A plumber in Washington, D.C., working near the heart of the nation, pulled a small globe out of a blocked drain. Finding a toy isn't that strange, but this one seemed to be making a statement. There was a tiny, perfectly round hole punched directly through the spot where the United States should have been. This wasn't just a clog. It was a not-so-subtle piece of political commentary. Was it an angry diplomat, a disillusioned tourist, or the Illuminati's lost paperweight? Your move, conspiracy theorists. 8. In the sterile, soul-crushing environment of a corporate office building, a toilet backed up. The cause wasn't paper towels, but dozens of business cards from the same company. This wasn't a networking event gone wrong. This was the desperate final act of an employee who decided to literally flush away their 9-to-5 existence. It was a bold, if ineffective, way to tender one's resignation, a silent rebellion against synergy and circling back that only succeeded in creating a problem for the maintenance guy. 9. In the sun-scorched landscape of Arizona, a city worker investigating a sewer line discovered the ghost of a golfer's rage, a fully intact golf club. This wasn't just lost equipment. This was the final act of a spectacularly bad game. You can almost feel the story: the top drives, the missed putts, the crushing defeat. Instead of just breaking the club over his knee, this sportsman marched to the nearest restroom and performed a burial at sea. It was a grand, futile gesture to punish an inanimate object for his own lack of talent. 10. A high-end Las Vegas hotel had to shut down a suite's bathroom after the toilet mysteriously quit. The plumber, expecting the usual, instead pulled out a pair of handcuffs, locked tight with no key in sight. This find speaks volumes by saying nothing at all. When the hotel staff was politely questioned about it, they gave a look that wordlessly screamed, "What happens in Vegas sometimes has to be cut out of the plumbing with a blowtorch." 11. The irony was thick enough to cut with a knife. A bakery restroom in New York suffered a catastrophic failure caused by an entire, half-eaten birthday cake being stuffed down the toilet. The cheerful frosting, the celebratory message, all sent to a watery grave. This wasn't an accident. This was a statement. Someone was so profoundly unhappy with their birthday surprise that they decided the only appropriate response was to give the cake a porcelain funeral. It's a tragic tale of shattered expectations and buttercream-based revenge. 12. A plumber in Seattle, responding to a residential call, found the dismembered remains of a pair of roller skates. The pipes were clogged with a collection of wheels and tiny metal bearings. There was no sign of the actual boots, just the functional parts. This suggests a quiet, methodical mission. Was it someone silently retiring from the roller derby scene, piece by piece? Or a disastrous DIY repair job that spiraled out of control? Either way, it was a very strange and crunchy problem to solve. 13. A plumber in New York City found himself face-to-face with a tiny symbol of American freedom, hopelessly trapped. He retrieved a small Statue of Liberty figurine from a residential toilet clog. The irony is almost too perfect. Lady Liberty, a beacon of hope meant to welcome the tired and poor, was found defeated by a P-trap, unable to even free herself. It serves as a potent, if slightly disgusting, metaphor. Freedom is great, but it doesn't apply to the laws of plumbing. 14. A full, completely unopened jar of pickles was pulled from a sewer line in Tennessee. What makes this so bizarre is that it was perfectly sealed, meaning someone made the cold, calculated decision to flush it, lid and all. This wasn't a crime of passion against a bad sandwich. This was a premeditated act. Did they have a deep, philosophical hatred of pickled cucumbers? Or were they simply testing the absolute limits of their toilet's power? Spoiler alert, the toilet lost, spectacularly. 15. In the sweltering heat of a Florida July, a plumber removed a delicate glass Christmas tree ornament from a clogged toilet. The discovery was jarringly out of season. Was it an act of profound anti-holiday rebellion, with someone deciding they were already done with Christmas 6 months in advance? Or was this just the absolute worst long-term storage solution of all time? While everyone else was thinking about beaches and barbecues, one person was waging a very personal and very confusing war on Christmas. 16. Accidentally flushing your false teeth is a nightmare. Insisting that city workers go down into the sewer to get them back is a whole other level of commitment. That's exactly what happened in Alabama when a man lost his dentures and launched a full-scale recovery operation. After an expensive and deeply unpleasant rescue mission, the teeth were returned. The crew earned their pay, but the real mystery remains. Did he actually disinfect them and put them back in his mouth? We hope not. 17. Right after Halloween, sewer workers in Michigan cleared a storm drain blocked by a sad, half-rotten pumpkin. You can picture the homeowner staring at the slumping, decomposing face on their porch and making a terrible decision. This was a last-ditch effort to hide their horticultural failure from the judging eyes of the neighborhood. It was a pathetic end for a once-proud jack-o'-lantern, and a smelly, messy lesson for everyone. Pumpkins, especially sad ones, do not flush. 18. In a public restroom in Atlanta, a plumber found the remains of a personal drama. The The toilet was clogged with a wedding invitation that had been meticulously ripped into confetti-sized pieces before being flushed. This wasn't just declining the RSVP. This was a declaration of war against someone's happily ever after. Was it a jilted ex? A furious friend? We'll never know, but their silent, vicious protest was executed in the privacy of a public stall and ended in a very public plumbing disaster. 19. The goldfish funeral is usually a one-way trip. But not for this fish. A maintenance worker in Oregon was clearing a clog when he saw something move. It was a goldfish, not just alive, but actively swimming in the pipe. This little champion had survived the flush, the dark journey, and had somehow set up a new home in the plumbing. The fish was rescued and reportedly upgraded to a real tank, becoming a living legend and a testament to the fact that sometimes, even after being flushed, life, finds a way. 20. A guitarist in Nashville, the heart of country music, kept losing his favorite, perfectly worn-in guitar pick. He assumed it had vanished into the ether, a sacrifice to the gods of music. Years passed. His sink always drained a bit slow, but he never connected the dots. Then, during a plumbing repair, the culprit was found. His long-lost pick, perfectly preserved, had been acting as a tiny, persistent dam for years. It's a sad country song in the making. He got his pick back, but he could never look at his bathroom sink the same way again. 21. The aftermath of a party is usually just confetti and regret. But in New Mexico, it was a full-blown plumbing catastrophe. The city sewer system was completely blocked by the soggy, candy-stained remains of a shredded piñata. Someone didn't just break this thing open. They annihilated it, and then tried to flush the evidence of their sugary rampage. It was a sad, pulpy funeral for what was supposed to be a celebration, leaving sanitation workers to clean up the ghost of a party gone horribly wrong. 22. This discovery is pure, unadulterated nightmare fuel. Plumbers pulled a child's stuffed dog toy from a sewer in Chicago. As one of the workers picked it up, it let out a weak, waterlogged squeak. You have to imagine the motive here. Someone, driven to madness by the incessant noise, tried to give the toy a watery burial to silence it for good. Instead, they created a haunted pipe, where a faint, ghostly squeak would echo with every flush. That's not a clog, that's a curse. 23. A plumbing team in Georgia, expecting a routine root blockage, instead found themselves excavating a battlefield. The pipe was jammed solid with dozens of tiny plastic army men, frozen forever in their final, failed mission. You can just picture the kid who was their general, ordering a full-scale amphibious assault on the toilet bowl. It was a tactical disaster of epic proportions. The plastic soldiers were all casualties, and the only victor that day was the plumber who won the war against the blockage. 24. A plumber in Michigan retrieved a battered, waterlogged wallet from a severely clogged sewer line. He opened it up, expecting to find a driver's license or some cash. Instead, it was completely empty except for a single, slightly damaged playing card. The Joker. This wasn't just a lost wallet. It was a calling card. It felt less like a plumbing job and more like the beginning of a dark, twisted crime movie. Who was this person, and what kind of message were they sending? 25. A Florida plumber arrived for what he was told was a routine clog. He began his work, expecting the usual suspects. What he got instead was an 8-foot python, very much alive and very angry, slithering out of the pipes. Someone had clearly tried to flush their exotic pet problem away, but the reptile, being a creature of resilience, just found a new, darker home. The plumber immediately reevaluated his hourly rate, and to this day, no one knows where the python originally came from. 26. The plumbing in a Nevada restaurant came to a grinding halt. The massive clog wasn't grease, but a solid brick of hundreds of plastic forks, knives, and spoons. This wasn't an accident. This was a philosophy. Either an employee genuinely thought the cutlery was biodegradable and would magically dissolve, or they had waged a personal war on the concept of washing dishes and decided the toilet was their greatest ally. Their laziness created a plastic monument to bad decisions deep within the building's pipes. Shia 27. A janitor in a Nevada casino found a plastic bag causing a toilet to back up. Annoyed, he fished it out, expecting trash. Inside were dozens of unscratched lottery tickets. This is a story of pure, agonizing mystery. Was it a high roller, disgusted with the concept of luck, flushing them away in a fit of pique? Or did some poor soul accidentally flush what could have been a life-changing jackpot? We'll never know, but flushing unscratched tickets is a gamble not even Vegas would recommend. 28. In Colorado, animal control was dispatched on one of the strangest calls of their career. A strange noise coming from a residential toilet. It wasn't the pipes. It was a live squirrel. Someone had tried to flush the poor creature, but it had miraculously survived, clinging for dear life inside the porcelain bowl. The good news is that the terrified squirrel was rescued and released. The bad news is we are left with the deeply unsettling question of what kind of person looks at a squirrel and thinks, "Yep, that'll flush." 29. A sewer worker in Chicago, clearing a drain, found a casualty of a romantic war, a waterlogged love letter. It was folded neatly, but had been submerged for so long that the ink had completely bled away, rendering the passionate, or perhaps painful, words unreadable. It was the physical ghost of a relationship, its secrets washed away into the city's underbelly. Somewhere out there, a dramatic breakup story just got a very soggy and very permanent ending. 30. A sewer crew in Nevada made a discovery that spoke of pure, unadulterated rage. The clog wasn't one solid object, but a collection of tiny, sharp shards and fine dust, later identified as the pulverized remains of a bowling ball. Someone didn't just get mad after a bad game. They went home, took a sledgehammer to their bowling ball, and then tried to flush the evidence of their tantrum. It was a spectacular failure on multiple levels, proving that even when smashed into 1,000 pieces, a bowling ball will always win against a toilet. 31. In Seattle, the coffee capital of America, sanitation workers retrieved a sealed 1-pound bag of artisanal coffee beans from a public toilet. The irony was palpable. Was this an act of protest from a tea lover? Or did a barista, after one too many demanding customers, have a caffeine-fueled breakdown and decide to give the precious beans a watery send-off? Whatever the reason, the only thing that got brewed that day was a whole lot of trouble for the city's plumbing department. 32. A janitor in a Nashville high school found the source of a bathroom clog, a cracked tuba mouthpiece. This small, sad piece of brass told a story of musical despair. You can almost hear the scene. A stressed-out band student, unable to hit the low notes one more time, finally snapped. In a fit of brass-fueled frustration, they committed an act of musical mercy-killing. That mouthpiece had definitely played its final, mournful note before being sent to its watery grave. 33. A plumber in Boston, a city that lives and breathes baseball, found a signed baseball blocking a restaurant's pipes. It was a genuine, hard-stitched ball, but its journey through the sewer had rendered the signature a completely illegible smudge. The entire crew was left in agonizing suspense. Was it a priceless piece of memorabilia? Maybe a ball signed by a Red Sox legend, tragically lost forever? Or just a random kid's ball that took a very bad bounce? It's a mystery that will haunt Boston sports fans. 34. A plumber in Louisiana was prepared for snakes, maybe even an alligator. He was not prepared for a piranha, but that's exactly what he found swimming in a clogged residential drain. Yes, a living piranha, with its infamous razor-sharp teeth, had been flushed by its owner and was now treating the home's plumbing like its own private Amazon river. It's a terrifying thought, a flesh-eating fish lurking just beneath your feet. That plumber immediately added a dangerous fauna surcharge to his invoice. 35. The sinks at a trendy Miami beauty salon were backing up, and the cause was a monster of their own creation. The pipes were completely choked with a massive, tangled ball of discarded hair extensions, both real and synthetic. Over months, the shedlocks had woven themselves into a giant, water-resistant beast, a hairberg of epic proportions. It took hours for the plumber to literally untangle the mess, a gruesome task that was part plumbing, part exorcism. 36. Sanitation workers in Chicago pulled a large sealed plastic bag from a sewer line. What was inside? A mass of unidentifiable raw meat. It wasn't steak, it wasn't chicken, it was just mystery meat. The discovery left everyone with a string of deeply unsettling questions. What animal was it? Why was it flushed? Was this a home butchering experiment that went horribly, horribly wrong? It was a culinary crime scene with no witnesses, just a very smelly, very strange piece of evidence. 37. A city crew in Philadelphia had to use heavy equipment to remove a small metal safe from a drainage system. It was locked tight and surprisingly heavy, sparking theories of mob money or hidden jewels. After hours of work, they finally managed to pry it open. Inside was absolutely nothing. It was completely empty. Was it the ultimate prank? Or did a thief loot the contents and then try to ditch the evidence in the most cumbersome way possible? Either way, it was a whole lot of effort for a big fat zero. 38. Plumbers in Kentucky found the bent, rusted frame of a small birdcage wedged inside a sewer pipe. The door was missing, as was the bottom tray. It was just the skeletal remains of a bird's former home. The discovery was less weird and more deeply unsettling, as it immediately raised a chilling and unanswerable question. What happened to the bird? Did it escape to freedom, or did it meet a far more tragic fate? 39. A backed-up drain in a New York City apartment building revealed a truly bizarre hoarding habit. The pipe was packed solid with thousands of crumpled, unused fast food napkins. Someone had clearly been stockpiling them for years, grabbing massive handfuls with every order. But instead of ever using them, they decided one day to dispose of their entire collection at once, creating a thick, pulpy napkin concrete that brought the building's plumbing to its knees. 40. Plumbers in California were called to a home for a serious clog and ended up performing an archaeological dig into one person's dietary history. The pipes were packed with dozens of greasy fast food wrappers and empty ketchup packets. This wasn't just using the toilet as a trash can. This was a long-term commitment. The weirdest part? Some wrappers were from restaurants that had been out of business for years. This wasn't just a clog. It was a greasy, depressing time capsule of bad decisions. 41. Sanitation workers in Ohio, clearing a residential line, found something that stopped them in their tracks. A single, perfect, uncooked egg. It hadn't broken on its journey. It was just sitting there in the pipe, a pristine oval of profound mystery. Was it a failed science experiment on buoyancy? A bizarre offering to the sewer gods? Or did someone just look at an egg and think, I wonder if that'll flush? It's the kind of pointless, absurd discovery that makes you question everything. 42. A woman in Boston experienced a special kind of escalating disaster. First, she accidentally dropped her car keys into the toilet and flushed. Panicked, she called a plumber. But while waiting, she had a moment of misplaced confidence. Maybe I can get them myself, she thought. She tried, and in her frantic efforts, flushed them again. At that point, the keys were on a non-stop journey to the water treatment plant. The ultimate humiliation? Having to explain to her insurance company that she killed her keys twice. 43. A plumber in Michigan, expecting roots or grease, instead found a piece of a cracked football helmet lodged in an underground pipe. The face guard was still attached, which means someone had to have used considerable force to send it on its way. This wasn't just losing a game. This was a full-blown meltdown. It was a final, desperate, and utterly pointless play that was intercepted by a 4-inch pipe, resulting in a penalty for unsportsmanlike conduct against plumbing. 44. Sanitation workers in Maine pulled a heavy plastic bag out of a public restroom pipe. Inside was a substantial amount of loose change, quarters, dimes, even some old pennies. Someone flushed actual spendable money down a toilet. What was the logic here? Was it a superstitious attempt to get rid of bad luck? Or did someone genuinely panic and mistake the toilet for a Coinstar machine? Either way, they learned a hard lesson. The sewer system does not give refunds. 45. Plumbers in New York, working in a pre-war apartment building, pulled out something small, spherical, and staring right back at them, a glass eye. It was just resting in the pipe, its eerily realistic gaze judging them from the palm of a glove. Was it accidentally lost by a clumsy owner? Or is there a one-eyed man out there who tried to flush away a bad memory? Either way, the plumbers reported feeling like they were being watched for the rest of the day. 46. A plumber in Florida thought he was dealing with another routine clog until he pulled out a small velvet pouch. It felt heavy. Inside were dozens of sparkling diamonds. The backstory was straight out of a movie. A panicked thief, hiding from the police in a bathroom, decided flushing the stolen gems was his best escape plan. It wasn't. The police recovered the jewels, and the thief went directly from a bathroom break to a jail cell, proving that not all brilliant ideas are bright. 47. A sewer worker in Texas found a soggy, swollen notebook with the words, "Do not open," written in bold marker on the cover. Of course, human nature being what it is, he had to look. He pried it open, hoping to uncover some dark secret or lost treasure map. Inside? Page after page of completely smudged, unreadable ink. The entire text had been washed away into a gray, pulpy mess. Whatever secrets it held were lost forever, a permanent casualty of the flush. 48. A maintenance team in California found a technological graveyard clogging a sewer pipe. The blockage consisted of 3 old flip phones tangled together like ancient fossils. Was it a single person trying to erase their entire cringe-worthy history from the early 2000s? All those embarrassing texts and polyphonic ringtones gone in a single flush. Or was it just someone who was really, really bad at recycling? Either way, their call could not be completed as dialed. 49. In the heart of Washington, D.C., a city powered by paperwork and bureaucracy, plumbers were called to an office building to deal with a particularly stubborn blockage. What they pulled out wasn't a stapler or a lost security badge, but a dense, pulpy brick of what was once an entire, fully completed tax return. We're talking the 1040 form, all the schedules, everything. This was an act of pure, unadulterated fiscal rebellion. You can just picture the scene. Some poor soul spends a week wrestling with receipts and deductions, only to see the final, soul-crushing number they owe. In that moment, they didn't just give up, they declared war, choosing a porcelain-based form of creative accounting to liquidate their assets. The only problem? The IRS is unavoidable, but a plumbing bill is immediate. 50. In a quiet suburban home in Minnesota, a plumber encountered a uniquely modern mystery. The clog wasn't composed of organic matter, but a collection of pristine, unused hardware. A small Allen wrench, a handful of wooden dowels, and several of those weird metal camlock screws. It was the dreaded leftovers bag from an IKEA furniture build. Someone had assembled a Björk's bookshelf, saw the remaining parts, and had a complete psychological meltdown. Instead of living with the soul-crushing uncertainty of whether their creation would collapse, they decided to flush the evidence of their potential failure. It was a final, desperate act to silence the tiny voice that whispers, "You definitely missed a step." The instructions never mentioned this particular disposal method. 49. And for the grand finale, a story of escalating failure. A man in Pennsylvania accidentally flushed his wife's engagement ring. Panicked, he had a brilliant idea. "I'll just remove the toilet to get it." He successfully unbolted it, but in the process, lost his grip and dropped the entire, heavy porcelain toilet into the open sewer line below. Not only was the ring gone, but now the toilet was too. The wife found out, and the final repair bill was reportedly more expensive than the original ring itself. So, the next time you're about to flush something questionable, just remember these stories and ask yourself, is this going to make me a legend for all the wrong reasons? Now, let's be real. Someone watching this has a story that could top at least half of this list. Your secret is safe with the internet. Unburden yourself in the comments below. We're here to judge, not to help. If this journey into the abyss of human stupidity is your kind of entertainment, you know what the buttons do. A subscription is your ticket to the next beautiful disaster.